All right, guys and gals, good morning, good afternoon, good night, whatever time you're watching this. Thanks for watching Common Sense Talks. Really appreciate it. So, we're going to jump right into today's video. I've got a story here on Fox News. There has been information going around, actually, I believe weeks ago, maybe even a month ago, about people who got the coronavirus, beat it, and then weeks later tested positive again for it. And when that story initially came out, there was a lot of doctors doubting it, saying, no, I don't think that's true. That we're going to have a resistance, and that the resistance that you build up at least should last a few months, years, whatever, and that people shouldn't be re-catching it. And if I remember correctly, the original news story had to do with it was coming out of China. So it's like, could they believe it? Were the tests faulty? Did they do it wrong? Well, we've got a new story out of South Korea. Very intelligent people there. Their governments run pretty good as far as they know what they're doing, and they're very intelligent. They have the technology to produce these tests, to do what they're doing, and to know what they're messing with, so to speak. And they're right next to China, so they've had to deal with this, let's say, probably before us. And this story here, we got 51 recovered coronavirus patients in South Korea test positive again after release from quarantine. So that's pretty scary right there, folks. We don't know, obviously right now, I think looking at the latest numbers, the kill rate is at about 2.9%. Again, I don't know if it's what's going on. Why are we shutting down our economy? Why are we destroying our economy and jobs over a virus that only has a 3% kill rate? That even if it infected the entire population, right now it's only showing at about a 3% kill rate. And that's being that we're not testing everybody. So there may be a lot of people who are asymptomatic, or who had a small flu, or who had no symptoms at all, because they're saying X amount of percentage, let's say 50 to 80% of people actually, or whatever the percentage is, you guys should go check that out for yourself. Don't take my word for it. That those people are not even having symptoms. So how many people could they have then spreaded it to? So the survival rate may actually be much higher, and the kill rate may be actually much lower. But on the flip side, they're shutting everything down. It spread pretty quickly. And then we've got this story here where we've got 51 patients that retested positive. Now let's get into the details of the story here and find out exactly what's going on. So I'm going to go ahead and read it for you guys. You can see on my screen here what's going on as well. So dozens of people who were diagnosed as recovered from coronavirus in South Korea have tested positive again for the virus after leaving quarantine, according to officials. Now remember, this is from Korea, not from China. Korea Centers for Disease Control and Prevention said Monday 51 people from Daeju and the surrounding North Gyeongsang province tested positive for COVID-19 a relatively short time after they were released. Now, the virus likely was reactivated, said KCDC Director General Jong Un-kyung. Instead of the people being reinfected once they left, South Korea's Yonhap news agency reported. The group of people came from the epicenter of South Korea's coronavirus outbreak in Daeju. I hope I'm pronouncing all this right, guys. Let me know in the comment section if I am. So, it's first time reading this. Oops, sorry, let's go up. Health authorities told Yonhap news agency that a team of investigators has been sent to Daeju to conduct an epidemiological investigation into the cases. In March, so here's about the story I think we were talking about earlier. In March, the South China Morning Post reported that doctors in Wuhan, China, where the virus emerged, said that as many as 10% of coronavirus patients had tested positive again after being discharged from the hospital. We know China's been misrepresenting their numbers, so they're coming out and telling us as many as 10% of the infected are retesting positive again. So that's pretty scary right there. Um, and also being that we're not testing everybody, so we don't know the true numbers. So Wang Wei, the president of Tongji Hospital, where the first COVID-19 case was identified, told state broadcaster CCTV that those who tested positive did not have any symptoms and none of their close contacts had been infected. So it's almost like they're a carrier or something, like it's there, but they hadn't spread it yet. So we also may be getting ready to see a second wave. I don't know. This is the craziness. We're all stuck inside our houses. We're all absorbing all this social media, all this YouTube. There's not a lot of 100% concrete proof going on. So we're all out here speculating. The same thing on Facebook, and just like on the fishing pages, or I have a fishing channel, Common Sense Fishing, and we're all worked up about in California, and other places they've already done it, but in California they're talking about the Fish and Game closing certain spots and counties because people in these rural communities are afraid of fishermen from these bigger cities coming out and bringing the virus to them, which I can understand. And this is how common sense should be used to approach such an issue, like I was talking about earlier. Okay, make a rule where maybe uh, outsiders have to get gas at the pump, not allowed to come into stores then. Or for example, I could gas my truck, my boat up, then drive out to whatever lake or place I was going to, right? Go to that lake or place, fish and enjoy it and come home. Pack my lunch here, etc. I don't need to risk bringing the virus to your community. So, but I guess it'd be kind of hard to enforce. But anyways, I don't want to get too much off topic, but the point is there's a lot of misinformation. There's a lot of guessing. We don't really know what's going on. The governments, we don't know if we can trust them. China's been lying. This is all new. So you got people that are very frightened. All the toilet paper and food's missing in a lot of the stores. Restaurants and jobs are closed. People aren't able to pay their bills. Some people can and do. Some people can't. You've got some people with family members who have compromised immune systems, so they are extra uptight about this. Maybe looking at people who, like me, may kind of have like this middle of the road approach to it. I'm not too sure if it's something that's really all that dangerous. And is there more to meets the eye going on right now, or is it really worse than what we're being told? I don't know. And I guess maybe it's always usually best to err on the side of caution. However, we're Americans. We don't like our rights being restricted. We don't like being told what to do, specifically me as well, especially when it doesn't make sense. So when you're talking about closing boat ramps and, for example, the paddle boarder who got arrested all lonesome out on the ocean, I get the idea that, well, if you can't did it, well, then everybody else would come and do it. Well, here's an example of how you could deal with that, like beaches in the ocean. Make a rule. Beaches are open. However, you cannot be within 6 foot of another person. Crowds of only this size, disperse it amongst the beach. I'm sorry, we can't have big crowds. You're gonna have to go to a different beach. Same thing with the boaters, kayakers, and anybody, maybe banning swimming or something, or saying, hey, as long as we're spread out amongst a certain level, no matter what the virus is going to spread, people are going to get it. We can stay home, but you're eventually going to need to go to the store for groceries. You're going to eventually need to go do certain things, no matter what. And when you go out to do those things, the likelihood of you bringing the virus home is a lot higher than if, let's say, you're doing something like fishing, in my opinion. or going to the park or the beach, as long as it's not in big numbers. So what you got happening too is you got families and groups going out to the lakes and rivers and beaches and trying to have just, well, if we can't gather, and they're going to have a barbecue and this and that, but then they've got too many people there, and then right next to them is another family barbecuing, right? And these people are just ruining it for us. So it it's pretty complicated, isn't it? Like, either whatever side of this situation you're on right now, it's not like you can spout that you're 100% right and this is why. It's crazy, because you also look at our forefathers nutted up on the British government, went to war, killed, battled over much less than what's happening to us. We as Americans think we're free, but if you really look at the Patriot Act after 9/11, we gave a lot of our rights away. And I really don't like the authoritarianism. I don't like our rights being stripped away. But at the same time, I understand a need for safety. So it's a pretty complicated situation. And with this story coming out of South Korea of 10% or so or more of these people, sorry, that's in China, in Wuhan, being reinfected, that's pretty scary. So, and then how many times are we going to go through this? And then there are some doctors, excuse me, that are saying that the coronavirus is not going to go away, right? Like, okay, we get it to go away, and then it's just, come fall, it's going to come back. And then think about it like this: once a virus comes or is introduced to the population, it never truly goes away. It either changes or evolves, so to speak, right? It mutates, or we build an immunity to it. So, like the plague and like all these nasty viruses that were around, Black Death, all this stuff that was around, bubonic plague, they discovered that at Disneyland. It's still here. We're just not dying from it anymore because we either A, have an immunity, herd immunity, vaccines, all that good stuff, right? So what they're talking about is the coronavirus may not ever leave. And then there's other health officials saying eventually everyone's going to catch it. So if that's the case, why are we shutting everything down and blowing up our economy? I don't know. This is a pretty complicated situation. At this point, I just want to share this story with you guys and go over it. And think about it. Let's go to this next part before I'm about to close. Don't want to run too long on this video. But in March, in China, the doctors in Wuhan, China, where the virus emerged, said that as many as 10% of coronavirus patients had tested positive again. So that's coming from China, who's been skewing their numbers. Who's to say it isn't much higher? Now, surveillance of similar patients showed that 80 to 90%, which could be as high as 20% than reinfected, had no trace of the virus in their system 1 month later, right? So that means that 10 to 20% did. So they're saying they only did it on a small sample. They were only working with small samples. We need a large-scale epidemiological study to guide our disease surveillance and prevention works, he was quoted as saying. Now, as questions mount over developing immunity to COVID-19 once contracting the virus, health experts have offered explanations using examples of similar viruses. During a news conference on Tuesday, New York State Health Department Commissioner Dr. Howard Zucker referenced the reported case out of China, but cautioned it hasn't been confirmed yet. Well, you've got Korea confirming it. So much fake news going around. Nobody ever wants to believe anybody. Just like that drug hydroxychloroquine may be saving lives, but yet the Democrat and the news want to bash Trump and bash everybody and bash that drug. Well, hey, if this is a brand new virus that comes out, and just like Trump saying in order to prove a drug safe and do all of this hoops we got to jump, that could be a year or more down the road. And if in other countries their doctors there are saving patients and the drug is helping, I mean, let's put 2 and 2 together. And if 2 plus 2 equals 4 in France, then it probably 2 plus 2 equals 4 here in America. So, people need to start, using common sense on that. So the news out of South Korea came as officials are now considering, this is crazy, they're considering using electronic wristbands to monitor the growing number of people placed under self quarantine to slow the spread of COVID 19, as 47 new cases were reported. 47 new cases, and you're talking about losing all your rights and wristbands? And even in the story here, they talk about it being a potential violation of privacy concerns right here. So I'm going to leave it there with you guys. Let me know in the comments section, what do you think? It's a pretty complicated situation. I think we may be consuming too much social media, too much news that isn't 100% factual, and then add that to the fact that we're stuck in our homes and can't get out. You really can create and brew a pretty crazy situation. So with that being said, everybody stay safe, stay sane, and we'll see you on the next one. And thank you for watching Common Sense Talks. Really appreciate it.